my sound, by the way, guys? Is my mic okay?
What?
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, we can hear you.
Okay.
I'm with you, Terry.
I, I did a webinar over the weekend with Terry and Elizabeth Samuels, and when I listened to the replay, my mic was like really low, and I didn't realize it. And now I'm like super paranoid that my mic's messed up.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of SEO Fight Club. I'm just saying hello in the YouTube chat and reminding people to ask questions. Today, we're just going to talk about various topics and whatever topics you guys want, whatever questions you have. It's kind of a informal day, so it's a good day to get all of your questions answered. And we suspect that people will have a lot of anxiety about the update. So, Lee, what are your thoughts about this update so far?
Well, I'm actually excited about this particular update because I might have had a test site, a mass site hit by this update. I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting it out. It looks like it was bouncing back a little bit this morning, so I'm a little disheartened because it presents some testing opportunities. But in general, you know, I'm looking at this and saying, all right, I have to wait for a couple of weeks until the update ends and see where it settles because there can be a lot of reasons why, stuff bounces for a couple of days. So it was
Yeah,
a tiny bounce this morning, but it was a non-zero bounce. So
I had of the dozen or so pages I'm tracking this week, I had two of them fall from page one to page two.
mhm.
And so those two are like, suspects on my list of maybe affected or maybe something else, who knows. But the thing that people need to realize is that you don't fix the building while the earthquake is happening. All right?
Mhm.
So you don't rush into reaction mode because these updates, they take weeks, and oftentimes Google will reprocess everything and you'll fall during the reprocessing, and you'll bounce back once they're done. Sometimes Google does rollbacks, so they do an awful thing and then they say, oh no, that was too awful, hit the undo button. So if you rush into reaction mode, you're going to change a bunch of things and Google's going to do an undo, and then you're going to not know what the heck happened.
Mhm.
So it really pays to go slowly during major core updates. So I would advise people to wait. As uncomfortable as waiting is, 9 out of 10 times in SEO, waiting is the right thing to do. Now, 10% of the time not waiting is, that's a really high percentage in my opinion. But, you know, this time I think it's good to just wait. Simon White says it's not over until it's over. So, yeah, right now we're in the earthquake. So don't start fixing the building. What do
Terry
you think?
Powers. I was going to say Terry Powers said he's heard that if your site has moved, then it's certain to be due to this update.
Charles, what do you think about this update so far? You see it at a different scale than most.
Yep. So the new bot started hitting all of our sites on Friday around 5 p.m., which still blows my mind that Google's rolling out updates at the end of the day on Friday. Um, I'd refer folks back to, I know I had given I was a guest presenter over the summertime, and I gave a presentation on logs, and one of the points I was trying to make with the logs is that things are constantly changing after these updates. When people are talking about, hey, I'm hearing rumblings and and tremors after the updates, but when you look at the logs, you'll see, well, Google's rolling out all these changes. They're rolling out new bots because things have changed. Google said themselves the bot is stupid. They need to change the bot to pull in these different factors. Now, a funny coincidence, well, not that funny at the time, but one of our sites looked like it got hit.
Mhm.
Saturday, Sunday was really, really bad. Like so bad I thought maybe our analytics were wrong or something. Um, and I started circling the heads like, is this the algorithm update? Nothing else was touched. And then Monday comes along and yeah, we're back up to normal where we're supposed to be. So maybe it was just a nice weekend. Maybe, who knows what was going on. Maybe everybody was watching the Oscars or something, but that kind of stuff's going to happen. There's going to be coincidences. We had that exact same thing happen over the summertime. We had a massive 404s hit our site on the exact same day and time that a Google update rolled out. And I was like, yep, it's an update. Somehow Google's finding more pages. Nope, we just launched a bad XML on that exact same time. So, correlation is not causation.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the other thing to keep in mind is when Google reprocesses everything. Let's say that Google is doing the unthinkable thing. They're punishing AI content, and that's the big buzz fear out there, which I don't think is true, by the way. But let's hypothetically say they are. All right. And what that means is they need to go back and rescan every page to figure out if they're AI content or not to whatever standard they're doing. When they do that, that's massive. That's trillions of pages. So that doesn't happen in a day. So what ends up happening is if you have enough websites or big enough websites, you see evidence of the processing wave, which is web pages way down there just got hit by the wave. And so you see a page down there on your site just got tanked. And then as the wave approaches, you'll see other pages and other sites you have get hit, but they don't all get hit at once. So you might have pages that got hit 2 days ago. You might have pages hit today. You might have pages hit next week. It all depends how long it takes Google to run the queue of all the reprocessing they have to do. And that's why this earthquake, you might think you've dodged it already, and you haven't. You're just seeing the wave hit websites way over there. But that wave is coming your way. So that's why another reason why we wait is these things take time on Google's end, and you won't know the outcome until it's over. So just keep in mind it's not going to happen all at once, and it's not done yet.
Yeah, the other
All
thing
right.
that I would keep in mind is the speculations on what it is or isn't about are it's just crazy at this point because you have too many things moving in too many different directions to be able to say anything definitive. So
Well,
wait till it's over.
what I've seen from the blogosphere so far is that all of the content writers are praising Google's smiting of the AI content.
Yeah,
And
it's not that because I've got lots of sites that are pure AI content. The one that may have been hit is one that I put up 500 pages of AI content. It has almost no links, almost no traffic, and it's sat around because I haven't had a chance to get around and do everything to it. So it's just sitting there, a super tanker of shit in the ocean. It's an easy target, but I've got lots of other smaller sites than that are just untouched and ranking well. So it's not AI. There's possibly a component of size that factors into this, but it's kind of why I'm excited. I'm hoping that it stays penalized because then I can reverse engineer what's going on. But if it recovers, then well,
yeah, you lose the chance.
I lose the chance.
Yeah, yeah. And with the AI stuff, the reason I don't think this is Google's smiting of the AI content is because they can't. Google's life depends on AI being successful too, and Google's out there saying, no, no, ours is better. And if Google's going to go and make it so that anybody who uses their product is punished, um, that would be a pretty bad idea. And not only that, if they weaponize it, if they actually derank pages that use AI content, then I can go to your product page. I can leave a 5-star favorable review written by AI that tanks your product. I can go to your forum and make a really well thought out, informative post written by AI that tanks your forum. Or if it's somebody else's forum thread, I can reply with AI to the forum thread and tank it. I can go to your blog and leave an AI written content that's on topic and really on point, but written by AI that tanks the article. So if Google weaponizes AI, then, well, we all need to get into reputation management and make millions. And so that's why Google's not going to smite the AI content, because it would be the blunder of the century if they did. And they don't have an answer to that, and nobody does. So I doubt that this is the great smiting of the AI content that was foretold in prophecy. Uh, what do you think, Charles? Oh, you're
So
muted.
yeah, sorry. So I was just checking a bunch of my AI pages that I have out there. Some of them actually have moved up in the last couple days. So yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Now, it is interesting when you look at Google, they did call out they're looking for mass. I think really what they're doing is they haven't been real clear on AI. They said they didn't want AI, and then they changed that thing saying, for humans, not by, they had that by humans, for humans, and they changed just for humans. I think this is their way of kind of clarifying, hey, look, if we think you're producing a mass page AI content spam site, we're reserving the right to hit you on that means. But I think it'd be manually. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it manually. I don't
Yeah,
think there's anything in the algorithm. I think the amount of processing, I've yet to see anything from Google that suggests they're investing more time into processing.
yeah,
I think they're
and
looking for ways to cut corners. Yeah.
there are two clues so far on this update that I'm hearing in the anecdotal stories from the field. One is the people crying the loudest typically had mass page sites. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that they were low value. They were big sites. They were casting a wide net with the content strategy. Um, and the other thing that there's accounts from the field is a resurgence of the manual action, and those have been largely quiet for a couple years now. So having a resurgence of the manual action is a new kind of thing. So that's interesting. But you have to understand that whatever they're punishing manually, that is pretty much a confession that they don't handle that algorithmically. So
Mhm.
just take note, if you're getting manual actions, what are you getting manual actions on? Because it probably means the algorithm does not account for those.
Yeah. I'll also say that in the case of my site, one of the clues that is there that they can potentially use that I've seen in some of the others is my site has 500 pages that all have one published date. I launched, went boom, and there it is. And that was months ago. That's a very easy footprint to find in mass sites. But I know a lot of people with sites considerably larger than mine with AI content, but they published over time. They're doing fine and ranking well. So, it's like, we're looking at, if this is the thing, if it stays down, what are the signals and how would we, potentially reverse engineer those? It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah,
I also want to
I'd still be shocked if there was an algorithmic demotion for something that could technically be like an SQL bug, like, oh, the developer accidentally queried max date instead of the actual date. And so now
Yeah.
everything is showing max date. Bugs happen in the world. That's not a reason to delist a website. And so Google probably wouldn't care about a footprint like that. They might, like, if you were recent news, you would fall out of the recent news things.
Mhm.
But I doubt it would be a lifelong ban because he had that issue temporarily. And I think
No, but
Charles, you had an issue like that once, right?
yeah.
Or
The publish date and falling out of search.
yeah, so published. So I've done a couple things with dates. So with my real sites, we've had issues with Google not labeling our articles correctly. And I know that's something you've pointed out, Ted, multiple times, that dates are hard to parse, and we were sending some bad signals. I also have done tests where I've used multiple dates, and I messed up by accident. I put a future date in, and once I put a future date into the article, it dropped out of the index. Um, but I think that was just because Google knew it was an invalid date and just said, well, you don't have that factor because it's invalid. Um, I was just going to make the point with this whole kind of this whole AI thing. There was an article in Adweek a couple weeks ago, and talking about how Google was paying publishers to test their unreleased generative AI platform, and paying news
Mhm.
publishers to put out AI content. So
Yeah.
I think it's really weird for Google to come out and start saying how we don't like AI content when we know for a fact they are paying people to do AI content, to do their AI content. So
Yeah. And the AI content that they're doing, because I remember the article was talking about, okay, we can track, if I'm a news provider, I can track, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, whoever. And when they publish a new article, if I like it, the AI will rewrite, essentially spin that article and put it up. So basically, you're copying, cloning your competitors' content.
sounds like mass AI generate content generation,
Bam, it
exactly what they
does.
said they don't like.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It seems like all the violations of all the guidelines, unless they do it.
If they do it, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can't scrape their site, but they're the world's biggest scraper.
Yeah, you can't have too many ads at the top of page, but they can replace the whole top of page with ads.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
So I had an interesting thing that I'll throw out for discussion. I was looking with a friend through some. We were looking at the slash 1000 issue a little bit. So for those that don't know, there's a massive network that's throwing links off at various sites, and it'll have your domain slash page slash 1000. And what it shows up in Search Console is a 404 error because the page doesn't exist. The page that they've appended the slash 1000 to typically exists, but not the other one. We're like, why is that there? Because they're on big sites, they're on small sites. I've had some of the tiniest little sites that get almost no traffic and have no rankings will have slash 1000 pages. But we noticed a new set of them coming up, which have the form, ABC at 123 as the suffix that it adds to the URL now. That's a whole different set. And so we were wondering, if it's a 404 attack, some sort of negative attack, why would you do the entire web? It makes no sense. Why would you target almost all websites at such a low level? That would be the most ineffective attack ever. And
Well,
if there's benefit on the other side, if I link out to a page, whether it exists or not, is there some sort of phantom algorithmic ranking benefit? And Ted, you've looked at some of the sites that are linking out. How are they
yeah,
ranking?
what my leading theory on this is it's either a collective of similar style, negative SEO, uh, or it's a combination. And I'm starting to join the combination um, camp on this. So there are two negative SEO attacks that are large scale currently hitting the whole web. And it's the size that you'd think that some nation is funding it. So
Mhm.
it's that big. And it's these slash 1000s is half of it. And the other half that I'm seeing is the dash k dot htmls. And
Mhm.
these are two different things. So the dash k.html URLs they're designed to kind of worsen your penguin footprint, to get Google mad at you about your linking patterns. And these /1000 ones are kind of designed to make Google think that you have a growing 404 problem on your website. And I'm wondering if the combination of the spammy links and the growing 404 problems on large scale websites is causing them to slowly decline. And these attacks kind of started together back in 2022. And what I'm seeing is the slow growth of 404s, all right? And at the same time, the slow diminishing of SEO KPIs, very, very large online retailers. So this thing is like taking down big fish slowly. And so I'm currently working with a couple online retailers currently on mitigating it. I don't believe Google's answer that you can just ignore this is correct. Like all the evidence I'm seeing is this is the type of thing you don't ignore. We might not understand why they're doing it and how the attack works, but ignoring it does not feel right at all. And oftentimes, what people say with these types of attacks is they're so feeble and, it doesn't really do anything. And so we can just ignore it. You know, I, I've lived that story before. There's an article on SEO Clarity of me walking you through one of those where the attacks are so feeble, we thwart them in minutes, so it can't do anything. But what you don't know with these types of negative SEO attacks is by the time you thwart them, the damage is already done. Googlebot has already received the error responses. So your rankings are tanked. And it's going to take weeks to climb back out. So with attacks like these, you don't really understand them until you overlay your organic revenue and your SEO KPIs over the attack timestamps. You got to overlay these charts, and then you start to see the cause and effect of it all. And so the people that are saying, oh, it's feeble, it's weak, they're not doing that step. And so it's maddening to me. But yeah, I think these imaginary URLs on your website, the -k.htmls, the /1000s, you want to handle those.
Mhm.
And so what I recommend you do is you set up your htaccess to do redirect handling. So you can wildcard, hey, if anybody requests a /1000, just rewrite the URL to not have the /1000. That way it corrects to the canonical. And if somebody comes in with the -k.html URL, just redirect them to the homepage. Do something like that, but don't give them the 404. And on the k.html one, that's not a 404 attack. Those are actually going to your pages. So on those, you have to look at the referring URL, and you do your redirect based on the referring URL. And those are link spam ones. So with those link spam ones, you don't actually want to redirect to anywhere on your site. Those are going to de-index pages if they hit pages on your site. You want to redirect anything coming from a -k.html probably to a garbage domain. Because I don't want to tell you to send it to Disney or something, because then
Send
you'll
it to
probably get a
send it
cease and
to
desist.
yeah, you could
Um,
send it to abuse.google.com. That'll take care of it.
but yeah, if you have a garbage domain, or tiered link building, send it to a leaf node in your tiered link building. But yeah, yeah.
It's weird, thinking, all right, so I want to take down Walmart, so I'm going to do this, very methodical attack. But while I'm at it, I'm going to go to at least shitty little blog that gets, 20 visitors a month and hit him too. It's so widespread. We couldn't find one of our sites that didn't have at least 1/1000, you know,
Yeah,
page.
it's a big network.
I've seen it
And
on all of my sites. Not a lot. It's very small, but it's there every place.
Mhm.
yeah, the retailers I'm working with, they've been hit pretty hard. It's, if their website is 10,000 pages, they're looking at, 25% of those numbers being these attack URLs. Um, we also have Terry Samuels here. I know he's a pretty busy guy. Terry, do you want to give us an update on SEO spring training?
Sure. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'm just sitting here working. My class is finally over, so I get to enjoy Fight Club again. Now, my next class, I'm actually going to do it later, so I don't have to miss Fight Club. So, but yeah, hi guys. How was everybody?
Welcome.
Good. Well,
Congratulations. Oh, I was going to say congratulations on selling out the VIP tickets. That's usually the thing most conferences never do.
Yeah, actually, we had one open up. Just flight problems, couldn't get here in time for the game. So, yeah, so we definitely have one VIP ticket left. It's the Yankees Diamondbacks baseball game. We've rented a couple suites. But yeah, conference is 21 days away. So that's pretty exciting. This is kind of crunch time for Elizabeth and I. So we're doing a bunch of podcasts and introducing more people to more speakers and some of the speakers people in our little network of industry people haven't heard from before. So um, different format this year. I think everybody's excited about. So we're going to have people on the stage in the morning, and then after lunch, we're going to have 4 mastermind rooms. So people can go just learn on page if they want to go see somebody do on page, if they want to go see Dory do link building, if they want to go to Terry Power and see AI crap, and I mean, crap is a good thing. So, and then we have another room for like agency growth and stuff like that. So people are really going to be able to pick and choose in a more intimate environment who they want to go and talk to and listen to and ask questions from. And because they're all designed that way. So like I'm going to present on a whiteboard. I'm a whiteboard guy when I can get away with it compared to a PowerPoint presentation. So these smaller, more intimate rooms allow us to do that, which so we're pretty excited about that. So
Nice, nice.
we still
I,
got some. All the coupon codes are cut off, but if you want to come and you heard it on this show, just mention this show, and I'll give you a pretty dang good deal if you want to still come.
oh,
So
nice. I was theorizing last week that you're gonna sell out again this year. Is it looking that
I
way?
mean, it's going to be close. We went for a bigger room, and so last year I think we were limited at 125. This year we're limited to 180. So also it's a very expensive weekend to come to Phoenix because the men's Final Four is here that same weekend. So, and it's amazing. It's hotels are starting to sell out in Scottsdale, and the Final Four is in Glendale, like 40 miles away. It's amazing how people
Mhm.
will drive that far. I mean, it's the Cardinals Stadium, so I guess people drive that far for the Cardinals. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. We're Elizabeth is more stressed now than ever. Obviously, her and her team are the ones getting all the little things, making sure are done. So, but yeah,
Well,
no, it's going to be super exciting. So,
yeah,
too bad
yeah.
he can't make it, Ted. I know you had family obligations we
Oh,
talked about at the very beginning.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's during my kid's spring break, and it was last year too. But I promised my kids I would only derail spring vacation every other year. So this year we have to do the family vacation. Um, but I do know that you guys go all out. Like you're dinners, your catering, your swag, your mixer events.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. And so I would recommend that, if anybody is really interested in, learning new things, like the speaking tracks is one dimension of value. Then
Hmm.
there's the connections that you make. So you get to meet all these industry experts and add them to your Rolodex and be able to ask questions to them from time to time. A lot of people walk away with new clients
Hmm.
from these events. So that is very commonplace. A lot of people will work out white labeling of things they can sell to their clients that other people can fulfill for them.
Yeah.
So that's going to grow your business, right? If you start white labeling services. Um, and then there's like all the shop talk in between these events and at the bar where you really get to talk to people about specific problems and discoveries and what have they seen. And so it's really a multi-dimensional uh, opportunity of value there. And
Yeah.
the other thing that I find remarkable about it is, as a small business owner myself, I often find myself not having enough business expenses.
Hmm.
And so if you don't have enough business expenses, you know how that goes. You end up giving it to the government. So
Yeah.
do you want to invest it in your business or invest it in the government? You're going to spend it either way.
Exactly.
So, if you're one of those people that never has enough expenses to deduct, then, this is a killer opportunity. Now,
For
if
sure.
it's
Yeah.
if it's going to break the bank, if you can't afford to do it, if you're living month to month, that's okay. It's not the right tool for everyone. And it's not to say that, it's not for you, but maybe it's
Hmm.
just not for you right now. Or maybe there's an online event that you can go to that would save you the travel costs. But
Yeah.
just understand that, everybody's at a different point on the same journey. And there's a point where this kind of event is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And so, think about it in those terms. What do
Exactly.
you,
And we specifically, we spend a lot of time on choosing the venue because of the networking. That's the main reason why we choose where we choose, because we go and not only do we stay there to see what the experience is to stay there, but we also look around and say, okay, where can people hang out? How late is the bar open? When does the kitchen close? All the things that you want to make sure that you're providing value for people. And it's just, we kind of upgraded hotels this time. We were at Embassy Suites last year. This time we're at DoubleTree, right up next hotel up the road up in Scottsdale. And it is going to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit, I mean, it's just, we're super excited about it, that we were able to get this place and do it this way. And we added a third day, which is also one of the great things is, and we didn't raise, I think we raised our price $150 from last year and added a whole third day. So again, just trying to provide, we know there's a lot of different opportunities for people to go to different events. And we just try to keep the same level of value as we go on and provide more and more as more. Got some great sponsors this year. High Level is one of the sponsors. So, Web20 Ranker is a sponsor, of course, Ian and Agency Assassin. So we've got some pretty good sponsors that people are also going to get to enjoy a lot of stuff.
yeah. Well, I predicted last year you were going to grow. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's clear that your event is a community favorite. So yeah, I'm holding to my prediction. I think you'll sell out again.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. And next year we're going to mix it up even a little bit more. So we're already working on, at least on the dates next year. We're going to spread it out a little bit. So not everybody's piled on top of each other. That's always one thing that we got to pay attention to as conference hosts. But yeah, no, I think it's we're super excited. We'll be more excited when everything's done. We can kind of take a breath, but as of, we're definitely just, we went to dinner last night and said, okay, what's left? And we go through these lists and lists and lists and lists, and just to make sure we don't miss anything. So I think last year we didn't get the badges until like the day before the conference started. So it's like, whoa, let's not cut it that close again. So
yeah, and if you don't know the history of this event, Terry's just an SEO like all of us. It's just another SEO doing SEO, and he got a burr in his side about doing an event. And man, is that ever cool to like see how it evolved from an SEO with an idea to now it's this annual thing that's selling out.
Yeah, it's our 5th year, so it's pretty cool. And when we started in 2019, it was just that. I just came from an event. I was pretty upset at the event and the money I spent at the event. And I told Elizabeth, I said, screw it, we're gonna do it. We're doing our own. We don't know how we're gonna do it. I did some stuff when I was flipping houses in real estate, but that's a whole different type of thing. And we went for it. And the first one, I think we had like 65 people. And then the second one obviously was our COVID digital, and our COVID digital went from 2 days live. We had to pivot 3.5 weeks before, and it went 8 days, 72 speakers, 900 people came through the digital side.
Wow.
And it kind of set us on our journey to, now we just need to keep going and going. So cancellation's not in my vocabulary.
So, yeah, it's always been one of my dreams to do an event, a successful event. Nobody wants to fail at it. But man, is it ever scary when you actually look at the numbers and the commitments, and there's no guarantees.
Yeah.
So
it's still scary even, at our level, because this year obviously our expenses went up. Everybody's expenses went up this year. Even from when we ended in April to negotiating in August, our costs just for food went up 29% just in those little bit of time. It's just crazy. So, what do? You raise your prices 30% to cover the new hotel costs and food costs and all the stuff that went up. And hotels now, I mean, they're tacking on everything. It's cost plus 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 plus. So by the time what you thought was going to be a decent conference for a price, now you're paying an extra 18-20% to the hotel for just service fees and shit. So
yeah,
it gets crazy.
Outlet fees.
So, yeah.
They charge you for the outlets, the tables, the tablecloths, everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just
ice
gets so
water.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, even having iced tea in the room, I think, is like $80 a day or something, just for iced tea or something. I mean, it's just like crazy. It's like, really, you make that much money? So, but I think eventually you get as big as like Tony Robbins and just buy your own space.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I always thought that conferences should kill the VIP room, because all the VIPs are hanging out with the attendees anyway.
Yeah, we actually didn't do that this year. This is the first year we didn't do a VIP room. But I agree. Last year, basically my kids hung out in the VIP room. So, so we didn't do that this year. And it was actually one of the things we had in bold that, we don't need to do. So, but yeah, you're right. And but no, I think it's going to be awesome. Of course, I'm a little bit biased, but we still have opportunities for sponsorships. We still have opportunities. Obviously, if you want to come and you contact me and say, "Hey, I saw you on TED and Lee and everybody's show," and I'll give you a hell of a deal. So this is one of my favorite shows out in the internet. I've been watching Fight Club for 5 years.
I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire. Now that you shared about your event, you gotta tell us, is your nothing but schema page still ranking, and what schema did you use on it?
Actually, I've got an entire website ranking for schema. So and before it was at 33 keywords I was ranking for this site, and after this update I'm now ranking for 44. So,
Nice.
so yeah, and it's just I haven't touched. I go in and I do WordPress updates, security type stuff, but that's all I do. And it's a full website. So I've got organization schema on the site wide. I've got service page schema on the service pages. I've even got one local page ranking with just schema. I mean, it's not ranking very well, but it's obviously, being crawled and it's indexed and everything else. So,
All right. So
um,
what schema plugin do you use?
yeah, no, yeah, no,
Now you're just going to piss him off.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
and I'm,
escalated quickly.
and actually, I'll be honest, everybody's talking about, AI and the rash of AI. Well, one of the things that I teach and I'll talk about at spring training is, I believe now navigation of your content is more important, mainly because we get such little time when something does hit our site. And if your site's a confusing freaking mess, then you're going to get confusing freaking results. But if you organize your content properly, whether you do siloing or whether you do content clusters or however you're writing now, I think it's just more important than ever to, make sure that's an organization system on page, which we've always done in schema. We've always, kept a very strict silo in schema. And now I think it's even more important to have on the front side the same way. So, and that's just, one of the big things. Everybody's the rash of content coming up. When we were writing 4 blogs a month for clients, we're now writing 10 to 20, because it's just Google's absorbing it so well. And it's, and we're writing good AI content, so we make Chat GPT our bitch. That's the one thing that we do. And I've taught on that a couple times. So,
And if people in the audience don't understand the significance of what Terry just shared, like a lot of people know like Kyle Roof's rhinoplasty plano and how that definitively proved that Google wasn't reading your content like a person.
yeah.
What Terry has proven with his nothing but schema experiment is that schema is embedded into Google's algorithms. Like he could not get these outcomes unless that was true. He definitively proved that schema is wired into the SEO ecosystem on Google's end. Now, Clint Butler has repeated some of what Terry has done, and Clint's claim to fame is that his content pages were more blank than Terry's.
Yeah, exactly. I just left the default WordPress theme. I think I used 2010 theme. I can't remember. Or 2020 theme. But anyways, yeah, I just left the default WordPress stuff on there. 123 Main Street, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, Clint actually did it with a complete white page.
Yeah,
So,
and so they have a feud going on between them about who's the king of schema. But it's so significant that I put this schema test ranking a blank page with nothing but very verbose schema. I put that on par with the rhinoplasty plano thing, because if you've been neglecting your schema, look at what he's doing. You know, it's an entire category of signal that you can rank to number 1 with nothing but schema. That's another way to rank a page.
yeah.
Like,
And I think,
about
I think the reason why the search engines even designed schema to begin with was to organize the internet. I think they saw early on that the internet's going to be a very confusing freaking place. And if everybody did advanced schema the way we do advanced schema, the organization of the internet would be that much better. Google wouldn't have to show 15 pages for a search when everything can be showed, whether it be a knowledge panel or something else, because they don't have to keep searching for this stuff back and forth. I don't know if that's true today, but I think it might have been true when they first designed. This is the only software they designed as a team, all the search engines, so we know they read it. It's their stuff. So now we just need to see what can we do to make it better. And so, I have Sarah. A lot of people have met Sarah. Sarah's my schema girl, and she's amazing. Her tests are just, the bad thing about our schema tests is when they go really well is implementing the stuff into, whether it be our sites, client sites, white label. I do a lot of white label schema for people. But it's, like I said, it's super important. I've argued its importance forever. Even to the point that I don't argue on Facebook because people just don't freaking get it. But if you're not doing it, or you're doing it with just a plug-in, you're not doing it. So
Yep.
don't think just because you have Yoast in there that you have schema. You have the same schema that the other 12 million freaking Yoast websites have.
Yeah,
no different.
And predating the schema.org schema, I was at the How Search Works presentation that Paul Haar made at SMX West.
Mhm.
And I actually met Paul Haar after his presentation. And I had one question for him at that time that he did not cover in his presentation, which is Google using the Open Graph metadata?
Mhm.
And Paul Haar looks to Gary Iles. Gary Iles gives him the nod. Yes, you can answer that one. And then Paul Haar looks at me and says, yes, we absolutely use that data. And
Yeah.
so going as far back as that event, Google's been using this data and even admitted to it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it's, like I said, it's come to spring training. We got 4 of the top schema people in the world there. Me and Clint, Simon Cornelius, Andrew Ansley. I wish Mr. Lebec would come, Chris. But yeah, so there's some, schema is a powerhouse thing. I'm going to be teaching it in one of the breakout rooms. I'm teaching it on page and schema. And know this too, this is my big disclaimer I tell people about schema. If your website is already on the way down, schema is not going to fix it. Schema is not going to be a magic bullet. If you're already having problems, don't think you can hire me to do schema and all of a sudden you're going to see a hockey stick going back up. So schema is literally the icing on top of the cake. If your cake is shit, the icing is not going to help you. So, and I say that very adamantly because I've had people, it's like when you buy a link, you buy a good link. I got this great link, high DR, whatever programs people are going for, and it tanked my site. Well, no, it didn't. It probably showed Google how crappy your site was that it never paid attention to before, because you got this good link, or you got this new schema, or you got this new thing that happened to your web page that has 41 H1s, 250 words of text, all the stuff that Google despises, as far as structure. And now Google tanked your page because now it's paying attention to it. So that's my big disclaimer. Matter of fact, I do an audit on everybody that hires me to do their schema for them, and probably at least 50% of them, they're not ready for schema yet. So that's one of the things that I don't take schema lightly, obviously. So
Well, it's clearly wired into the ecosystem, and it's my belief that Google is a diversity system, and you should not ignore an entire category of signals.
for sure, 100%.
It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we've been using entities and all the stuff that are big buzzwords right now. We've been doing that in schema for forever. And now we've just taken it to the next level of actually writing about some of these entities in a cluster formation. So, which is when you start, entity SEO is a real thing. Google's getting better at, taking certain signals and finding other signals about that signal. And
but what's more powerful, using entities and same as or mentions?
Well, same as is typically, just like it says, same as. So it's all about the same thing. Where entities play in, entities can come in as nodes abouts. So like your competitors or entities, your competitors, about your competitors. That Neil Patel's your competitor if you're an SEO. That, Moz and Majestic and all these things are your competitors if you're an SEO. So those are just different entities. And then, of course, you have the abouts and mentions, which are also entity based. And and take those, just pay attention to your entities. Don't just copy and paste 25 entities into your system if they really don't have things to do with you in a direct sense. don't put it in there. Like every time I do web design I look for entities for web design, PayPal shows up. Well, I don't want that entity. PayPal has nothing to do with my web design business. It might be a form of payment or whatever, but I'm not going to put that entity in my schema just because it's a wasted entity. So, but if WordPress is there and Joomla and all the stuff that has to do with web design, HTML, CSS, yeah, those are all entities.
Now, if you claim it in the schema, should you mention it in your content?
Not necessarily. Especially competitors, obviously. I've done tests where I've did a blog with all my competitors showing, and then I did another test with just blog about my competitors, but then listed them in the schema, and the schema blog did much better than the other one. The other one was kind of ignored, bounced in and out of indexing. Google didn't really, and probably didn't understand the page. This was before helpful content, so I know it wasn't helpful. So, hey, if you don't want me, here's my other 9 competitors, or whatever. But I do think that, nowadays in a cluster format, you can write about entities. So like we write about like tankless hot water heaters. This is part of what I teach in my class, is that, around tankless hot water heaters, you have solar hot water heaters. Where's the best place to install a tankless hot water heater? Should the tankless hot water heater be a certain height above the ground? So all these different queries that people search for, which if you're not writing on queries instead of keywords, you're killing yourselves. Write about queries. And if you'll find out real quick what you need to write content around. If it's in the people also ask and answer it better. That's Google's giving you a hint. It's talking about probably an entity of that search. So, write about it better. So there's all kinds of things you can do with entities, but just, pay attention to them. They're a real thing. Google is getting better at them. Topical maps, those are all real big things that we've been doing for a long time. Probably why my content was so expensive before AI. But nowadays we're so structured about how we write, and using Grammarly Pro and having that human touch and making sure that we're writing about specific topics that we want to write about around that cluster. So I think everything we do now is clusters. I don't think we write a blog about, why do you need a roofer? That was, 2021.
Awesome. Lee.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on schema?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I know from some of the testing out there that Clint has done and talked about publicly. Some other people have done some similar stuff. The plugin schema, is pretty much a waste of time. It doesn't really do a whole lot. And if you think about it, like, hey, this is the web page, and its URL is, Google knows it's a web page because it has a URL before it even hits the first line of that, that schema. So it doesn't tell it anything that it doesn't already know and isn't painfully obvious. Where Terry and Clint, the 2 biggest proponents of schema out there, they write encyclopedic schema. So it's way different than what most people do. So they have a different vantage point on that. And you gotta,
it's almost like it's a second web page inside the web page.
Yeah.
And that's, we tell people that we're basically building you a second website in schema. So, and we're of the belief, and we run spot tests to see, but Google's not really, giving us affirmative answer. But I believe if your schema is good enough, it doesn't even need to crawl your page. It crawls the schema. So, but I'm sorry, Lee, go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's an interesting thing because I've heard you say that, but it just occurred to me, you can, because most of your schema is up top, why not then at the bottom of the page put a test keyword and see if it's true. If it crawls the page and it finds stuff that's in the schema, but it doesn't find the test keyword, then it's doing exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then in our tests we've seen that the biggest challenge is it might show that keyword, but it might show it in 3 months.
Hmm.
That's like that. It's not like, oh, hey, here it indexed and it crawled the whole thing and it showed this keyword on page 80 or whatever, page 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why I'm saying it's Google's finicky about both, but I do believe that, and actually it's I actually just built another whole nother website with different schema on it. It's actually a quasi e-com site with like 4 products on it. See if I can rank an e-com only schema site. But in that schema is going to have a lot of a lot of the test images, especially because it's, I don't actually put an image on the page, but I call out an image in the schema. And so that image, we're finding the image is actually indexed before the pages do. So we can find the image in the image search quicker than we can even find the page.
Right.
So we know that Google's picking up images pretty freaking quick. And then, the whole point of how you utilize those. But no, I think you're exactly right that, put the keyword at the bottom of the page, even maybe in a, hidden div or whatever, just to see if that keyword will rank, or, like Ted does, 5, 6, 7, 4 pound, whatever.
yeah, just
Yeah.
random alpha.
Just random out there. But yeah, no, but I do think that, as far as understanding a page and putting more stuff on the page, especially, gosh, I've got a guy right now, he just bitches and moans about all the content on his site. And so I don't even fight with him anymore. I just put it in freaking schema. So, but that's same with misspelled words and all the stuff that we've been using schema for a long time. Those are always good too. And we do know it picks up the misspelled words in schema for sure, especially, I've got a big marijuana client and marijuana is one of the most misspelled words on the planet. So we do know, because those words are only in the schema, that's why they're ranking for the misspelled words.
Well, and exact match is part of the scoring equation, so those typos do matter in how you rank for the typos. And
sure.
yeah, schema would be a great place to put typos if you were worried about it. Image alts is another great place to do your typo SEO.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you have the real one in the image alt, I got, that's have the real word and the misspelled word.
All right, let's get to a few questions here. Oh, one last thing on conferences. At the last conference I saw Clint Butler present at, he shared his nothing but schema ranked website. He shared the keyword, he shared the URL, and everybody who attended can now look at that and see how he did it. And so sometimes value like that gets shared at these events. And so that's the thing. You never know if you're missing out is a big drop like that. Who knows? Maybe we can talk Terry into sharing one of his ranking schemas.
Terry, what's your favorite beverage?
Yeah.
Just doing a little scouting, sir.
Oh, you're muted,
Oh,
Terry.
you're muted. Terry, you muted, man.
But it does work. So yeah, it's bourbon for sure. And I've come back to the hotel room, and the first thing Elizabeth asked me is, "What'd you give away tonight?" And she'll know that by how tipsy I am or whatever. But
Yeah, there was one conference where I lost $2,000 worth of Cora licenses in a friendly 8-ball game with attendees.
that's
And
funny.
yeah. So that
Last year, Honey broke out a big bottle of tequila, and we're all sitting around the fire, drinking tequila.
Yep.
Woohoo!
So
But,
sometimes these things happen at conferences, but you got to go to take advantage.
Well, I appreciate you letting me talk about it for sure. I didn't come on to do that. I love the show, and I'm glad I'm able to come back now and listen to you guys.
Oh, we got some schema value out of you. The audience should be really happy. Those were pretty
Oh, for
big
sure.
nuggets.
And I'm happy, you know me, I'm happy to always share. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Come
let's
fight
see.
with us anytime, man. Come fight with us anytime.
oh, no problem.
Let's see what we got in the comments here. Derek Booth, the email maestro himself, and AdWords as well. There seems to be a lot of similarities to the Penguin update. Yeah, oftentimes when Google goes after big sites or spam, it always ends up being backlinks. So that's very common. So that's a good theory. Um, let's see. Brian Cato in the audience, the automation maestro. If anyone's gonna make an easy button, it's gonna be that guy. He automates Google Sheets for SEO in a way that's remarkable. So like if you have standard operating procedures, he's like converting those into, buttons.
Yeah, he'll be teaching on the tech day, one of our favorite tech day people at spring training.
Boom, there you go. Uh, all right, we have Derek Rogers there from Arneon Media. He says he can never get to these events. Someday I will get there. Yeah, eventually we all get there. We're all on the exact same path. We're just at different points on that path. So don't worry if now isn't the time for you. You'll know when the time is right. If you have never been to a conference, you definitely should go. That's Derek Booth. He's spoken at conferences, he's attended many. Getting the videos and docs later is good, but the events have so much more. Yeah, absolutely right. Florin says schema was invented because Google has no resources to really understand the text in all the pages. Same in present. Yeah, it's an efficiency thing. If the whole world plays that game, it's probably a cost reduction overall for Google. So it makes sense that search engines would like schema for sure. Um, Derek commenting, it's almost like schema is a scheme for Google to find out who really has SEO experts working on their sites. Well, I think they would probably view it differently because it's technical, time consuming, and it's a cost reduction for Google. So it's kind of an enterprise play. Like you would expect enterprises to do that type of thing more than the little guy. So it's kind of seeing who can invest in their architecture. Let's see. Training Essentials asks, is this normal? Thank you. Oh, here we go. It's out of order. I migrated my website from domain 1 to domain 2 about a year ago. Everything seems to be working fine. Yeah, I'd say everything working fine should be normal. It shouldn't always blow up on you, especially if you do it properly. Um, and yeah, people do successful domain migrations all the time. I'd say that probably 65 to 75% flub it horribly and end up having 10 months of misery. That's probably the common outcome of a domain migration of an already existing website. And there are different degrees. You might flub it for a month. You might have headaches for a couple weeks. There are different scales at which you can mess up a migration.
Charles did a talk last year at a conference about how to do a migration properly, and I know several people have reached out and and hired him to consult with them on their migrations because he's got it sort of step by step down with the belief that if you see in any sort of major dip, you did a lot wrong. And so he has checklists and things like that about how to do it and, not face the horrible dip for any lengthy period of time. So
Yeah, I saw his presentation at that event, and I called it a Picasso. So if you have a big migration that must not fail, reach out to Charles. Let's see. Uh, all right. So there's a comment that Terry doesn't keep his secrets well. So that's probably Elizabeth sharing, or one of his kids. Uh,
yep.
and
Just
that's
remember
great.
it's Bourbon Samuels. Bourbon Samuels. Just keep
Yeah.
that in
Buy
Yeah,
him a
I'm
drink.
sure it came from the other, half of the business.
Buy Terry a drink and make sure that your important question is question number 3. You gotta let the drinks kick in.
Yeah, got to warm him up.
And
Got to warm him
and
up.
just know you don't have to drink at these events. You can order a
No,
Coke at the bar and still be in the conversations.
for sure.
Let's see. Is there a limit to the schema markup to the page? No, when you see what Terry's doing, it's going to be 75% schema, 25% page.
Yeah.
So just you have to go very verbose. And Charles would say, be very careful that you do the schema properly, because if you do it improperly, you can like rapid de-index your page. So it's important to make sure you're doing it correctly.
Yeah, well, when that mastermind in hell, I showed everybody how placing the wrong schema on the wrong page will tank your page.
Yep,
So
which is pretty cool.
it hurt.
Yeah. Well, honey and I have a technical term that we use for what you do, Terry. We call it the big scheme. So there's schema, there's other schema, and then there's Terry's schema. So
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I have 3,000 words in my disambiguous description on my schema only site. So it's literally a web page. It's literally a website in schema.
so Nathan is asking how to recover from the helpful content update. And so my advice here isn't actually about the helpful content update, because I don't think it's very well defined as to what it is and what it does. So that's just a word that Google published. And so as SEOs, we need to look at things that we can see, behaviors we can see, measurements we can measure, and then we can act on those things. And so, what I would recommend you do whenever you take a ranking loss, get data on how you're different from the new higher ranking competitors. I would look at your tools. Is there something that fell off? Did you lose a bunch of backlinks to link decay recently? Um, think about these things. Look at your publish dates. Check search. Take an exact quote from your visible content on your page and do a quoted search for it. Is it coming up on 12 other websites you don't know about? Because that would make you go down. So there's a lot of reasons your rankings can change, and it's not always whatever update Google was cooking at the time. It can be the Google update, but it often isn't. And so it might be a coincidence that it happened around that time. And there are common mistakes like people turning on RSS syndication, and now all of your content is duplicate. You hit that switch in WordPress, you just annihilated your rankings. Sorry. So there are things that we do that can hurt us as well. So the important thing to do is to get data, find out how you're different, and make sure that you haven't shot your own feet. What do you think, Lee?
I agree, but wait till the update's over. Before you start to react. I mean, that goes back to what we were talking about extensively at the beginning of the show. So
All right. Let's see. Carolyn Holzman says one thing on the redirect advice: when the bot first crawls the malformed URL form is /1000. If you can set it to
Yeah, it's
oh
// yeah.
// interesting. When there's already a 301 before the 404. That's interesting. I haven't seen that aspect of it. I'll have to go back and look closer. So she's saying that there's already a redirect and what's going on. So that's interesting. I haven't dug that deep into that part yet. So all right, so there might be more to /1000. All
She's the
right.
queen.
Yep. Let's see. Chris Labatt says that schema is only code language search engines ever gave SEOs. Very true. Let's see. Looking through here. All right, I think that's about it. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. Oh, wait, one last question here. Training Essentials got one in. All right. When I search Google using site domain, the old domain can still appear in the SERP. Is this normal? Um, yeah. So when you do a domain migration, typically the new and old domains will fight. And if you get rid of all the old occurrences of the old domains that are out in the field and out in the world and in your RSS feeds and in your ads and in your merchant center feeds and in your content links, and those URLs, those old URLs exist in many places. You have to hunt them all down and kill them so Google stops finding them. And then you need to properly canonicalize the new URLs, and you need to manage the redirects. And if you do all of that perfectly, the old ones go away and the new ones reign supreme. If they both coexist and they continue to coexist, then you have left them out there and you're not properly handling them. And so I would hunt them down. All right. And with that, thank you, everyone. Great show. We'll see you next week.